We developed the Elastic Stack, which consists of 4 core products that serve as building blocks for developers to engineer search-powered solutions. Elasticsearch is the heart of the stack. It's what stores, searches, and analyzes the data, and is what everything gets built around. Logstash and Beats are ways to rapidly ingest data into Elasticsearch from a multitude of sources simultaneously. Once data is in Elasticsearch, users can visualize it in Kibana to create and share charts, graphs, and dashboards of anything, from network security logs to spacecraft telemetry metrics, or feed that data into a custom UI or application. Today, we offer the following solutions, which are all vertically integrated into the stack: App Search, Site Search, and Enterprise Search, logging, metrics, and application performance monitoring, business analytics, and security analytics.
We're pleased to welcome you to the AUSA Noon Report, our virtual series featuring senior Army leaders providing important updates on key defense topics. Our host today is AUSA's Vice President for Membership and Meetings, Lieutenant General Patricia McQuestion, U.S. Army retired.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Association of the United States Army's Noon Report. We're very glad you've joined us today and appreciate your continued support. Thank you to our sponsor, Elastic. Elasticsearch Incorporated is a search company whose mission is to instantly find relevant information and insights from large amounts of data. You can find more information about Elastic in the Handouts tab on your screen. I'd like to give a brief introduction today of our special guest. Major General Kevin Vereen is the Commanding General of U.S. Army Recruiting Command at Fort Knox, Kentucky, leading about 14,000 personnel in more than 1,400 locations around the world to recruit the next generation of soldiers for the U.S. Army and Army Reserve. General Vereen has served 32 years in the Army and has been stationed all over the world, from North Carolina and Missouri to Korea and Iraq. He began his career in field artillery, but became a military police officer, paving the way for many of his notable assignments, including Commandant of the Military Police Regiment, the Army's Provost Marshal General, and Commander, U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Command. Major General Vereen is a native of Fayetteville, North Carolina, and a graduate of Campbell University. For more details on his many accomplishments and decorations, you can access Major General Vereen's full bio, also in the Handout tab at the upper right-hand corner of your screen. If you have questions for General Vereen today, please use the Question and Answer tab and post your question in the box at the lower right of your screen. We'll try our best to answer as many of your questions as time will allow. We'll get the conversation started with a fireside chat and then address questions from the audience. So please start thinking about what you want to ask as we welcome Major General Kevin Vereen, Commanding General of the United States Army Recruiting Command. General Vereen, we are so glad to have you join us today. Having recently completed our first virtual annual meeting, AUSA Now, and hearing so many great messages about the Army's priority of people first, it's wonderful to have you as our first Noon Report since the annual meeting, and to follow up on those conversations with how the Army is prioritizing people, beginning with the enlisted accessions process. We also want to thank the Army Enterprise Marketing Office for allowing us to show 2 videos of their efforts to support people. We just aired Faster Future at the beginning, and we'll share an additional video at the conclusion of today's event. So General Vereen, can you tell us about how these products are helping your efforts?
Ma'am, thank you, and it's so good to see you. I can't say enough about how marketing has gone in the last couple of years. When I first came, of course, to USREC a couple of years ago as the DCG, we were really on the cusp of finding, the marketing from the national perspective. And I think over time we have done an extremely, really, really good job trying to ensure that our national marketing is optimistic with how we're recruiting this young generation of Americans who want to serve in the Army. So it is important for me to say that the national marketing effort is definitely necessary with what we're trying to do at the local level. As you all know, if we're going after a diverse market, it is really striking awareness at the national level that drives awareness down to the local level so that we can create messages that resonate with the demographics that we're trying to reach. And so we've been very blessed with having the Army marketing, enterprise marketing to be able to help us in that venture, because it's all about driving people to a recruiting station. And we do that with great marketing effort that starts the first part of the process.
Thank you for that. So you just completed the fiscal year 20 sessions program on 30 September. Can you tell us a little bit about how you did against your mission, both in numbers and quality, and a bit about how you accomplished that mission, those results, in such a tremendously challenging recruiting environment?
It's a great question. So, nobody expected it. Okay, I'll just be honest with you. But I can say that as we started this virtual process a couple of years ago, we were not as robust as we are today. We had to, March came, we kind of knew that COVID was really starting to affect our country. We had to make some bold decisions, and we had to go 100% virtual. And as you know, that is a complete reversal of what we've all grown up to do when it comes to recruiting. It's all about face-to-face interaction and being in our communities and having a presence. And so we've been able to do that. But I tell you, it was with some challenges. I mean, no question about it, because we had to really kind of take a tactical pause to make sure that we had the technology right, so that every recruiter had the suite of technology to be able to go into virtual space and do it individually from dispersed locations. And so that was a tremendous feat, but it was very successful. And I think as you talked about, how did we finish and what was our numbers? As you know, our numbers are always a reflective on in-string. And so we're just 1/3 of, the aspects of in-string when you look at, attrition through retirements or separations. And then if you look at retention. And so thank goodness our retention rates were extremely high this year, and we did very well with retention. So the number that we had initially when we started the fiscal year was definitely not the number we finished with. But I can say that even despite a reduction in our sessions mission, we still finished fairly high, really high with quality marks, and we finished over quality in all 3 categories. When we look at high school grads, we look at our alpha grads. And then, of course, we look at, our CAT 4s. We are well below the DOD average for CAT 4. So our quality marks are extremely well. And I just hope we can continue to keep that momentum into FY21.
Very good. Thank you. So as you know, AUSA has 122 chapters around the world, all led by volunteers who want to know how to help support the Army. So the past several years, we at AUSA have asked our chapters to focus their efforts on supporting Army recruiting and recruiters across all components. Our chapters were very supportive of this past year's National Hiring Day events. Can you talk a bit about the success about Army National Hiring Days? And is it something you're likely to continue in the future?
Yes. So very successful. We I could probably say that we probably lowballed our assessments and our analytics coming into it. But when you look at what we were able to do, 30,000 leads, several hundred contracts, and still, ma'am, as you know, it takes a while for our contract numbers to kind of really finalize. But some of those contracts are going into this fiscal year. So it's been extremely valuable, and we could not have done this without the Army. And I say that it takes a community to recruit for the Army. It does. It takes every single aspect of the Army to help us recruit, from our Army senior leaders to our operational units that allow us to be able to do live interviews with soldiers that are actually serving in formation. And these are young soldiers, because we want to use we want to be able to present the young generation that resonates with those generations that we're trying to recruit. So what a tremendous feat. And then of course our community, our retiree community, and our our sponsors, just a tremendous collection of great organizations and individuals who have really helped us see the fruits of our labor and the success of Army National Hiring Days. And it is something that we wanted to do this year. So we've got 4 major events, and we're going to start out with a virtual sort of recruiting event coming up in mid-November, and we're looking forward to that. It's Operational Virtual Blitz, and then as we move into the second quarter, we're going to have Operation Fresh Start, which, as you know, the beginning of a new year, and we want to give the opportunity to be able to allow folks to be informed with what we provide as an Army, and to be informed so they can make informed decisions on what they would like to do as a part of their career aspirations. So we're excited about it, and we're excited about every quarter.
Well, we look forward to hearing a lot more about those efforts as you get closer to each of those quarters. We know that you're responsible for regular Army and U.S. Army Reserve recruiting. Can you tell us a little bit how you team with and share ideas and other efforts with Army National Guard recruiting?
Yes, that's a great question. I don't get that one much. So first of all, we are one Army. And I think we go into this knowing that, even though we may be of, the different components of the Army, we are still one Army. So when we're on the battlefield, we're in conflict, and we're doing operations abroad, we're wearing this one Army, the U.S. Army. And that's what keeps the bind together. So in recruiting, I think it starts where we really have a lot of teamwork is through our school events and major recruiting events. And we have to work together. Because it shows this, this 3 services, but one Army. And I think that's important because what we have seen is that some of our young applicants, they want to stay at home. They want to wear the uniform, but they want to live in their hometowns. And so we have to be amenable to understanding and listening to what these young recruits want. And then we've got to try to decide what's best for them based on what they're telling us. And so the National Guard is probably an option if that's what you want to do. And you can still wear the uniform and you can still serve your country. And so that's the kind of teamwork that we're fostering inside, our 3 different components. And then I think the last part is that we all have to be present in our communities. We have to be there because they don't know the difference between National Guard, Reserve, or active duty. They just see United States Army. And so we all have to work together in our communities. And we just have to have a presence. We have to all be in our communities working together and giving the opportunity so that those young men and women can see our military. They can see our Army. They can see the uniform. They can see our diversity. They can see all the great things that we're trying to do in the protection and defense of our nation.
Thank you very much. We are so sorry that we weren't able to all get together at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center this year for the annual meeting. And we really missed having the Army esports team on the floor this year. Can you just give us a quick update on how Army esports are doing?
Army esports is continuing to roll along. We had to make some adjustments, as you all know. We're absolutely nested when it comes to the esporting sort of activities that are going across the United States. What a huge venue! And these venues, for our esports team is just it's phenomenal. But we of course we've had to kind of make some adjustments because we don't have the mass events that we would have had in normal conditions. And so we're doing a lot of things. We're still in the gaming tournaments that are kind of networked through the virtual space. Our e-gaming team is doing extremely well. I think one of the things that we have learned over time is that, to be honest with you, we just want to compete. It's not a matter of trying to win all the games or the competitions that we're in when it comes to e-gaming. I have learned in the first 90 days that in some cases you just need to have somebody that can tell their Army story, that has a great personality, that can kind of play games and maybe not be that good, but can talk about their experiences in the Army. And to me, that's more important than being great at the virtual game. It's about being able to resonate and having a personality where you can interact with those Generation Z young men and women, and now it resonates and it wants them to be interested into what this great Army has to offer.
That's what I tell my grandson too. It's not important if I win or not. Just want to be there with him.
Yes,
so I know that we have great questions coming in from the audience as well. So we're going to go to those attending today and turn this over right now to our moderator, Ms. Kelly Bland from U.S. Army Recruiting Command, for some audience engagement. So Kelly, over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir. First question would be, how has COVID-19 impacted the quality of the training of our recruits?
First off, I think it was a learning experience. Like I said early on, we were not expecting, this pandemic to kind of cross into our country the way it did. So we had to kind of take a pause. We stopped shipping some of our trainees to basic training in order for us to ensure that we set the conditions when they arrived at basic training, that they would be protected, and that we would do everything we could to safeguard their livelihood and their health and welfare. And so we had to do that. It's almost like being in a protective bubble. It's the same thing that you would see with the NBA and some of the other sports. It's trying to keep our trainees in a protective bubble, and to be able to give them all the opportunities to still have valuable training, but also very, very calculated and deliberate, safety precautions when you have massive numbers of people, all trying to assemble together. And so, our Army never stopped training. It really never did. It never stopped, doing its operational mission. We just we can't do that as an Army. And so we've been able to ensure that we take every precaution to still give valuable training, still be able to assess those who are coming into the training base to ensure that they're not, impacted with COVID, and we put measures in place to remove them from the training environment through the isolation process, and get them back on their feet, and then get them back into training as well after the ample time for isolation. But it has not really stopped. I think in some cases we've been so good at it that we've been able to maneuver and operate in the environment very effectively. And what I will tell you is that it is not going away anytime soon. I think they can say that, and we just got to continue to forge ahead and provide opportunities where we can continue to learn, adhering to the safety standards, but also knowing that there's things that we can do in a training environment, and we can do it successfully, and we can take care of both the instructors, the drill sergeants, and our soldiers that are actually training. And we're doing that.
Okay, sir, next question. What are the impacts of childhood and adolescent obesity and physical inactivity on the recruitment and accession of the future force?
That's a great question, Kelly. I think for us, we all know that fitness is huge for our Army. We want to make sure that our soldiers are fit, and we talk about the sort of the three aspects of holistic health, fitness, eating right, and to be honest with you, sleep. And so, but you asked me about the fitness piece. I think it's a huge part of what we do. and understanding that, we're asking our young men and women to be able to endure the rigors of what this Army is all about. And though we have some great, job opportunities and career opportunities, at the end of the day, it's about, being able to fight and win our nation's wars. And so our soldiers have to be physically fit. They have to be ready to endure, the sort of the challenging obstacles of the operational environment. And so we're doing everything we can to ensure that as we talk about, what the Army has to offer, we're also talking about in our schools, in our secondary schools. We're talking about, when it comes to fitness, and we're talking about, proper diet and eating right. I just wish, to be honest with you, I wish when I was coming up and I was in high school, I wish I had all the great, tools at my disposal to understand, how important it is to eat right and proper diet and sleep. And I think we're doing that. And we're absolutely using our fitness teams, our fitness company, and all the great soldiers that we have in that company to help with the process of talking about proper fitness inside of our secondary schools as well. So that's a great capability for us. It's something that we will continue to use, but I think the Army is fully invested in ensuring that we make sure that our young soldiers, those who aspire to join this great Army, understand the importance of fitness, because we're going to ask you to do a lot of great challenging things, and you just got to be ready to be able to do that.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. Next question. Would you please outline for us what you identify as the most urgent and challenging issues facing active recruitment today?
I think so. The most challenging piece, I think, right now would probably be how do we stay on a continuous effort and focus effort on recruiting in this environment. My message to our force and recruiting command is that, the environment is there. We just got to learn how to navigate through the environment. Where we see one of our major challenges is the connectivity and the communication and the connections with our high schools, because every district, every school district, every state is totally different. And so you have a mixture of hybrid, you have a mixture of, in school, and then you have some that are actually virtual only. And so our challenge is to ensure that we're nested with what our secondary schools are doing, so that we can still remain connected and we can still have access to be able to interact and interface and communicate with not only the seniors that are about ready to graduate, but also those juniors who aspire to join the Army. And so it's almost like watching the weather every single day, because it changes. And I'll tell you, it's because of the great work of our leaders, our battalion commanders, our company commanders, to ensure that they're remain nested with these school districts. It's been a great venture to watch, but we know that we got to continue to keep our eyes on the bubble, because we can't lose that.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. Next topic is one that we've been talking about quite a bit lately: diversity. Recruiting a diverse, talented, and representative group of America has been a consistent challenge for USAREC and for recruiting officers. Anything that USAREC is doing to try to resolve that, and if a small business has a solution to help USAREC meet these goals, how can we share that solution with them?
Okay, so that's a great question. My message to the folks that are listening in is that, hey, our Army is one of the most diverse organizations, if not the most diverse in the United States. I truly believe that. Are we as good as we should be? No. We have work to do, of course. And so we strive every single day to ensure that, one, that we are going to give folks an opportunity to be able to serve in this great Army. And it's really about giving them information so that they can understand. It's about understanding and putting away some of the misperceptions about the Army and about the makeup of the Army, and and what you can do and what can you not do. And it's about putting away those misperceptions, and then educating them, our future soldiers, about really what how diverse we are, and that there's equal pay, and regardless of who you are and what you look like, you're going to get equal pay across the board, and you're going to get the opportunity to make a difference. in whatever you decide to do. And so I truly believe that that we are definitely a diverse Army, and we just got to continue to get better. This past year we were at about 47% of minority population that we recruited inside the Army for the regular Army, and that's roughly about 30,000 soldiers, and so that's a good number. And so we just want to really give folks an opportunity. It's about changing lives. That's what we want to do. At the end of the day, it's about changing lives and giving everybody the opportunity to serve. Now, you talked a little bit about, I think you talked about, companies and smaller companies and kind of asking them, the relationship that we can have with them and their companies as well. So we're striking up an opportunity, an initiative. If you all don't know, I'll talk a little bit about PAYS because I don't want to be long-winded, but our PAYS partnership program is one that allows soldiers to join the Army, and then regardless of when they decide to get out, whether it's 20 years or whether it's after their first term of enlistment, then they join in a program that they can actually be guaranteed an interview with a company of their choosing. That's a part of this PAYS partnership. And so we can't guarantee you're going to get a job, but we can guarantee that you'll get an interview opportunity. And so this is a great program for us. So we're trying to do something that I would call, and I've been calling it for the last couple of days, PAYS in reverse. And so we understand that now that our economic situation in our country is, it's a little bit waning, and we've got pockets of high unemployment across the United States. And so we're communicating with small businesses and some companies to, hey, look, you've been taking care of our soldiers when they separate from the Army or they retire, so we want to take care of your employees. And that's an important message. We want to take care of your employees. So we want to give them an opportunity to be able to join the Army because you may be letting them go. And so we want to be there to help them. We want to be there to pick them up and give them an opportunity to be able to serve in the Army. And for those who don't know, we do have 2-year enlistments in the Army, and folks can join for 2 years. We would hope that they will stay on longer. It's all about leadership at that end. Once we get them in, we think great leadership will keep a lot of them in. But we want to be able to partner with some of our companies that may not be able to keep their employees on at a higher level, and let them know that the Army is here, and the Army stands by and it stands ready to be able to accept them onto our team.
Okay, thank you, sir. Another subject I know you're very familiar with, virtual recruiting. Please discuss how social media is used by your team.
So our message here is that we have to own the virtual space. And that means that at every level, from our recruiting non-commissioned officers who are, every single day are going out talking and communicating with young men and women, they have to have, a virtual platform. They got to have a persona, and it's on any platform that you want to use. So we push, the fact that you gotta be able to have a virtual platform. If you know what we did last year, we did a tremendous amount of work through the virtual space, a lot of great work through the virtual space. And so that's kind of what we want to do. We want to leverage technology as much as we can. We're trying to ensure that we become very efficient in the virtual space, and we want to leverage technology so we can be as efficient as possible with technology, so that we don't have to use a lot of the legacy systems that kind of delayed putting an applicant into the Army. And really, at the end of the day, I have this sort of thing that I said, I want to be the Amazon of recruiting. We want to be the first to contact, and we want to be the first to contract, because we all know that in this day and age with Generation Z, their attention span is very short. And if it doesn't resonate, and if it's not of interest to them, then they move on, and they could gladly move on to other parts of corporate America, to the job, to the job arena, or they can move on to somewhere else. And next thing you know, we've lost them. So, the impact of virtual recruiting and how we leverage all the virtual applications is huge for us as we continue to innovate and we continue to stay in the competitive zone, because we are in competition, and we want to just be as competitive as everyone else.
Okay, sir, next question. How do changes in retention or end strength change your focus on the target population to recruit?
Well, the first, I think the most visible thing is that our sessions mission number will either fluctuate. So we may have a number that we start out with, but if retention is really, really good, like it was last year in FY20, then of course our sessions numbers will generally be reduced. And so that's kind of the first obvious. But the other part of that is as we are still working in the whole sessions enterprise, it's all about recruiting quality. So we still want to ensure that we recruit quality. We still want to ensure that we, either reach or achieve above and beyond our quality marks. And so that's important because it's all about precision for the Army as well. So we can't underserve a critical need and a high-tech need for the Army for the sake of another MOS, because what you'll have is a hollow Army or an Army that's going to be out of balance, and the Army must be in imbalance. It must be in balance to be able to do what it is called to do. And so it's got to have enough cyber. It's got to have enough communications experts. It's got to have enough medical personnel. It's got to be in balance. And so regardless of what we do, we want to make sure that we do put quality, because we cannot sacrifice quality for the sake of numbers. And that's really not what we're going to do. And so that's kind of what we're going to do.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is USREC changing how it selects and trains its recruiters and the number of recruiters to reach the next generation?
Well, there is an Army selection process. Most of our recruiting non-commissioned officers are selected by the Army through a pretty deliberate, detailed screening process. And so I think we want to continue on that roadmap to make sure that we have the best that the Army has to offer, and continue to make recruiting an assignment of choice, where people want to gravitate to this organization, because we want top talent to be out there representing our Army, because we are the ambassadors. We are in some cases the first soldier that a community that somebody may meet who has no understanding about the Army. And so we want to have the best recruiters out there, and we want to make sure that they represent all that our Army is about. The second piece is, as we look at how we assign our recruiters once we get them through training. I have really started to take a look at how we assign them. We are going to really take a hard look at making sure at least our DA select recruiters who are coming to us for about 3 years get the opportunity to kind of get back to the locations from where they're from, their hometowns, or at least close to it, or at least within that state. Because they understand the demographics where they're from, they resonate with the community, and they have a lot of great relationships from the past. And so to me, that makes a big difference. I think it sets them up for success when we put them back where they can thrive and they can be successful. And so that's the second part of that. And then the third part is I really want to ensure that we talk about our female recruiting non-commissioned officer population. We have to continue to push to have female recruiters in our formation. There's no question about it. They are extremely value added when you're talking about females being able to resonate with our female future soldiers, our applicants who question, all the things about what it is to serve as a female in the United States Army, and only they can do that. Only they can talk their story. Their story is what resonates. It's what sells today. And so we are pushing very hard to ensure that we have ample amount of females, female recruiting non-commissioned officer force at a high level across all diversity, ethnic groups, across all demographics, and put them in the places and the spaces where they can be very effective for us and do what we ask them to do.
Okay, thank you, sir. So talking about the Army's end strength and the FY20 mission, can you be a little more specific about the numbers, that we achieved with recruiting and how that fits in with the other aspects of the Army's end strength.
Yeah. So I'll just frame it. Our number at the start of this year was well above 65,000, and so we ended up at the end of the day, our sessions mission was at 62,150 is what we ended up with, and that was our goal, to be able to ensure that the Army met its end strength. And so if you think about it in this analogy, about the last 60 days of a recruiting year, of a physical year, is extremely interesting, because we are balancing end strength using the three pillars that I told you. The numbers are steadily fluctuating, but we're also balancing precision. And so meaning that we have to make sure that our Army is manned across every MOS at appropriate levels, so that the Army formations are essentially balanced with what they need. And so it's a very interesting time in the last 60 days of a recruiting year. And so you take that number, over 65, and now I just told you we finished at 62,150. That is the sort of the very detailed analytics that are all involved when it comes to trying to finish the year and still meet end strength, so that when you reach 30 September, you have the end strength number that you need using all the three pieces. And so at the end of the day, it's really about, for us, it's really about ensuring that we continue to meet quality, but we also continue to have precise recruiting that drives the MOS allocations and requirements that the Army essentially needs.
Great, thank you, sir. Next question, do you foresee increased enlistment incentives continuing?
That's a good question. I think as we move through the physical year and we see where we may not have the numbers that we need with regards to a particular MOS, then I think we'll see incentives. Of course, as you know, every MOS won't have incentives. Some MOSs we do very well without incentives. It's just because everybody wants to be in that MOS. And so, but where we have large amounts of requirements for the Army, I'll just paint the example: infantry, 11 series. Probably one of the MOSs that we will probably safely say will probably have an incentive, and we'll probably keep an incentive, for the year, because the Army needs just an overabundance of infantrymen to be able to fill this formation. And so, so I see that as one of the MOSs that we will probably see over the remaining of FY21 that will have incentives attached to it. And then as we move into some of the other, low population MOSs that may not be filled at a level, we may have to see incentives come on the back end to be able to support those MOSs as well. So I'm a firm believer that incentives are great for folks. It definitely strikes interest, and it's one of the tools that we can use to be able to strike interest and to draw upon folks who really want to serve in the Army. So.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. So in the current recruiting environment, other than the impacts of COVID, what would you say are your top 3 obstructions or roadblocks?
Well, top 3. So I think the first is, you said COVID. So besides COVID, I'll just talk to you about just natural events that occur across our nation, and I will tell you, it's the impacts of major events across our country. It does impact recruiting in a tremendous way. I'll just give you one example. I just came from the state of Texas last night. Got a chance to talk with the Houston battalion commander, the Houston recruiting battalion commander. And this battalion commander has, his territory covers the state of the city of Houston. Of course, that's where George Floyd was from, and so he had a tremendous amount of difficulty during the period where we had some height and heated civil unrest that was going on across our country. So his battalion had to navigate through the whole residual effects and after effects of Mr. Floyd being killed. And so that was a challenge. And to be honest with you, my hat goes off to this battalion because they operate and they've done very successful trying to still talk about the goodness of our Army and why it's important to join. And then, of course, that same battalion, Vanessa Gillian, was recruited out of one of those recruiting stations in the Houston footprint. And so now you look at that part and the impact of one organization based on events that have happened across our country. The second part is natural disasters and natural occurrences. So we've endured a couple of hurricanes in the South, in the Gulf, and I've literally had to displace recruiting non-commissioned officers and their families and close recruiting stations. And by the way, I've got one recruiting station that was completely destroyed in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And so that one will not come back up again. We've got to move and relocate. And so natural disasters, hurricanes will play havoc on recruiting operations. Because now I can't allow that recruiter to be focused on trying to accomplish their mission. I don't even want them to focus on accomplishing their mission. I want them to be focused on taking care of their family. They got to find a place to live. They got to find food. They got to, be able to sustain themselves. They got to try to find, some necessities that they may need. That's important. So that becomes the priority. And we have to drop everything we're doing to make sure that we're taking care of that family, those families that have been displaced. And then we've got fires in the West. And so I've got a brigade that has been impacted by the fires in the West. And so they've had to close recruiting stations. They've had to displace families. The same sort of, procedures when it comes to the hurricane has impacted the West Coast with regards to the fires and impacted recruiting. And when that happens, recruiting absolutely has to take a backseat, because my focus as the commanding general and as our leaders within those organizations is that it's about our families and we have to take care of them. And then, MEPS closes and everything else. So we just won't ship people. And so those are, I think I've given you enough. I think that's enough to keep any organization busy. Trust me.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we have time for one more question. Are you finding it easier or harder to get into high schools? And how can we, AUSA, help where access is limited?
I think it's, I can't say it's easier, and I can't say it's harder. I think it's, we have been able to navigate through challenges. I mean, thank goodness I've got, great, members on the team who have been able to kind of help us here from the headquarters. And we've got some community partners and key influencers that are in our, in our cities and our states that have advocated for, our ability to be able to get into our schools. And of course, from a policy standpoint, we have legislation that kind of allows us to really get after the access sort of challenges so that every school can understand why it's important for us to have access into their schools. And I can't say enough about members of AUSA, our veterans community, our partners, our community partners that are in our towns and our cities, our CASAs, civilian aides to the Secretary of the Army have been just tremendous with helping us. And so I would ask the same continued effort from our AUSA leadership and our members and our retirees to help us in that venue. Because again, it goes back to what I always say, it takes a community to recruit for the United States Army. And I truly believe that.
Thank you so much for moderating the audience questions, Kelly. So General Vereen, I'll ask two questions to finalize this. You mentioned the PAYS program and your drive to PAYS every person. So how do businesses learn more about becoming a partner in that program to offer soldiers employment opportunities following their uniform service?
Yes, so we have a link where the businesses can join, and I can just tell you that Kelly has all that information because her her section kind of steers that for me. But there's a link that you can click on and you can become a PAYS partner. It is a great it's a great partnership for us. I mean, we do signings and these things are really done very well. In some cases, we do signings and we do enlistments at the same time, right in front of the company that's signing on to become a PAYS partner. So I can't say enough about that program. And I would just tell you, it's a very easy process now.
Great. And last, and you talked about this a little bit, but I'm going to give you one more opportunity. On behalf of all of our AUSA leaders who strongly support you and all the other organizations, including the ones you mentioned, that want to help, what can we do to support you, your great recruiters, and future Army recruiting efforts?
So I will tell you, all of y'all living in towns and cities across America, and everywhere you live, there's a recruiting station there. And our recruiters are pretty good at telling you how you can help at their level, because they have unique challenges that are geographically centric to where they're operating. And so I would just tell you, stop in and talk to one of our recruiting stations. Stop in and tell them who you are and how you think you can help. And it is important that we use you. The second piece is tell your Army story. Tell your Army story. Be an advocate for our Army. We all have great experiences in our service in the Army, and we just want you to tell your Army story. I tell you, always have an elevator speech prepared. So when you're in a crowd and you are interfacing with some young men and women who may not know what they want to do in life, tell them about the Army. Tell them about the Army. And then if you have any other questions, we do have a partnership outreach program. I would ask you to become a member of that, because now you're going to get monthly updates about recruiting efforts that are going across command and across the Army. And so you can have the latest and greatest information to help you in advocating for this great profession we call the United States Army.
Thank you so much, General Vereen. That wonderful conversation. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing USAREC's success with our audience members today. We look forward to continued great success with the irresistible opportunities American youth have to serve in our Army. Before we close, I want to inform our audience of some upcoming events. I'll mention a few, but there are more events listed on our website. On 2 November at 1100 Eastern Time, we will host a conversation with Lieutenant General David Barno, U.S. Army retired, and Dr. Nora Ben-Sahel, authors of Adaptation Under Fire, How Militaries Change in Wartime. Then on 12 November at 1100 again, Eastern Time, we'll present 4 authors of books focusing on the Vietnam War: Jim McElroy, Greg Sanders, John Falcon, and Dava Guerin. On 18 November, we'll have a noon report with Lieutenant General James Pascaret, Deputy Chief of Staff G8. And on 10 November, we're sponsoring our first ever virtual job fair. To register for these and all AUSA events, please visit our website at ausa.org/meet. Finally, we want to thank you all of you who are members of AUSA. Membership matters. Through your membership, you support soldiers, Army civilians, and families, and you help us put on programs like today's Noon Report. Please take another look at our robust member benefits. Membership pays for itself if you use your benefits. Join AUSA or renew your membership at ausa.org. A quick reminder about the upcoming change from daylight savings times this weekend, so set your clocks forward and enjoy the extra hour. Thanks again to our sponsor for today's event, Elastic. We'll close with one more video now from the Army Enterprise Marketing Office. Thank you again for attending, and have a great day.
Never before has the Army understood so much about a prospect during their journey. We're the Army Enterprise Marketing Office, a new Army organization in the heart of Chicago. Built by marketing experts and thought leaders within our ranks, we're bringing a new best-in-class capability to the Army. One that's positioning the U.S. Army as the most irresistible opportunity for America's youth. How? By gathering data from across all touchpoints, we precisely attract the right talent for every role. Knowing how recruits engage with all types of media, we deliver the right message at just the right moment. With new prospect-centered features, functions, and content, we're also evolving the Army's digital hub, where recruiters can chat online with prospects throughout their journey. It all lets us seamlessly hand off quality leads to the total Army recruiting effort. We're taking the industrial age Army into the information age and beyond, modernizing the recruiting mission, completing the prospect's journey, delivering the soldiers of tomorrow.